In this video, I'll give you a demonstration of how to use a Video Selector Pro. Let's get into it. So the first thing that we want to do is open a folder where you have all of your media content. So I'm just going to assume here that you've downloaded all of your content onto a particular folder, and we're now going to open that folder. So I'm just going to hit that. Here is a folder that's got about 30 clips in just a demo, but of course Video Selector supports hundreds of clips here for you to kind of go through. So let's just hit open. I'm just going to pause it just for a moment, just so I can walk through kind of the user interface, all the essential bits that's really, really important. So the first thing you're going to want to do when loading the application is get familiar with the hotkeys, because the whole idea of Video Selector is for you to work through your content super quick. So I'm just going to do a shift and question mark here, and that brings up the keyboard shortcuts. And you can see here that we've got the usual kind of left and right with your arrow keys. You can move through each of the clips. You've then got this jump to first clip and jump to last clip, and these are just where the square brackets come in, where you can kind of be at the start of all of your content, or you can quickly jump to the end and then maybe work your way back. Again, it's there just as an efficient way of getting to the start and to the end of all your content. Now, the up arrow and the down arrow are really, really important actually, because if you're working on perhaps a series of sort of long clips, then by doing the up arrow and the down arrow while the actual video is playing, you can skip by 20% in that video. So you can quickly get to the point where you need to, roughly, just to kind of get a preview to what is going on. So then we've got the space here, which you just saw that I just did. I pressed space on that clip when it started playing, and then here is your usual typical rating system. Now 0 is important to clear, but of course when you're rating content, if you do work like that, then you would be rating your clips from maybe 1 to 5. But you don't just have to use rating, or you don't need to use rating at all. It could be that you would like to work in maybe picking actual video content. So if you've got maybe 200 clips and you're going through and you're marking each with a P, you're just basically selecting the ones that you are interested in. And of course, if you do then like to work maybe from a rejection perspective, then you can then hit on the X. Now it could be that you still would like to be able to pick your clips, but rejecting, you just want to kind of get them out of the way. Pressing X will mean that clip will then be removed from the view, and of course you can get those back because you can go into the filter and you can kind of then bring those back in if you would like to. Now down the right hand side, E as a useful function is that if you see a clip that you think, actually I really want to keep that one, but there's something not quite right with it, then you can mark it for edit, and of course you can then go into your favorite kind of video editing tool, make the changes that you need to, and of course then you can then deliver that particular clip to your client, but just with those adjustments. And then here really is all about kind of the filtering, toggling the thumbnails. If you like to view it, sort of work in a full screen view, you can press T, you can bring up the sort panel. And one really useful feature is, and this is great if you are somebody like maybe a wedding content creator, where you not just don't deliver kind of video content to your clients, you might want to deliver some frames from the video clips. Then there is a very convenient function where you just press C, where the playhead is on the video, and it will take a kind of a clip from that video, and then you can deliver that as a photo to your clients. And then you've kind of got the inspector, which I'll show you in a second with the inspector tool, and then O is the little rating overlay, the kind of star rating that will appear up here with inside the user interface. And then of course this is the help screen that I'm showing. So I'm just going to close that. Now let me show you a little bit around other parts of the UI before we kind of get into the meat of kind of filtering. So here you can see at the top here, I've kind of got the filter panel displayed. Now, of course, I can just press F in, I can kind of hide that, which is quite useful. I can also press T here if I wanted to remove those thumbnails. If I do like to work in full screen, then of course you can just hide those and just kind of work through your clips in a much more sort of easier to see kind of way. And I just want to draw your attention up here to this particular area here. So of course we can open a folder if we wanted to. We can slow down any of the clips, or we can speed them up. So let's say, for example, you want to get through these clips really quickly, when the preview is happening, we can mark these as 1 or 2 times, or even slow if you wanted to quickly kind of work through the clips itself. Here are the filter options. You can kind of bring those in and out like that. That kind of just moves them from view. And then here, this is the export option here, and I'll talk you through that in just a moment. Here is the kind of the question mark that kind of brings up a little bit of overview of the application, but there's your keyboard shortcuts. And then there is the inspector view, which I can press the top right here, or press the I, and it shows me further details about the clip. And I can reveal in Finder if I wanted to. If I want to quickly get to that clip in amongst the collection, reveal in Finder allows you to do that. But more importantly, it's kind of got the details here about kind of the creator timestamps, which would be quite useful if you certainly would like to maybe customize the ordering of the clips. You might want to kind of make some decisions based on the time that the content was captured. So I'm just going to remove that from view for a second. Just some other areas to bring to your attention, and that is the settings. I'm just going to bring in the settings of the application here like that. And you can see here that I've kind of got all of the details here about the settings of the application. And these you can customize these to how you would like. You can also change kind of the light and dark mode of the application depending on how you prefer to operate. I'm just going to keep mine on dark for now. And of course, this is a very, very convenient way for you to reset all of the ratings that you have in this particular project, just so you can get yourself back to scratch if that's what you wanted to. But I'll show you another way on how to do that very, very shortly. So that is pretty well much the video settings. Okay, let's go through now the ratings of the actual clips as well. So if you're familiar with tools like Lightroom, this should be very, very familiar with you. We can just simply move through all of the clips as we would like, and as I rate each one, so let's say that's a 4, it will move on to the next clip. I can choose 5, I can then use 3, and I can use 2. So really, really easy way of quickly marking those clips with a particular rating. Now, of course, we can then now filter on this. I'm just going to press the F key here. Let's say, for example, I want to have a look at all of my 4 stars here. There it is, or my 5 stars, or my 3 stars, which will be none. Oh, there's just one because I did select one, I was 1. But the great thing about this is I've got the typical kind of greater than, so we can see everything that is above 3 rated, which is really nice. So 3 or more actually. So that's really handy if you are maybe selecting maybe a 4 and a 5, and there are the clips you're going to deliver to your client. That's one way of being able to kind of filter them down. So I'm just going to pause that there. So let's now just reset that. Let's get back to where we were. So of course that's using the kind of the rating option. You don't need to rate, of course. As I said before, it could be that you work by picking clips itself. So I'm going to mark this one as pick, maybe that one as a pick, maybe that one as a pick, and move forward, maybe that one as a pick again. I can filter down on those. And of course, just pressing P and just pressing P will then remove that particular selection. But as I said before, it might be that certain clips you don't like. So let's say, for example, that one, I can just reject that one. I can remove it from the timeline. Now, of course, remember, when you reject, you're not kind of removing them, you're just kind of updating the filter as you work through. So it just allows you to kind of narrow down your selection of clips. So let's demonstrate, of course, moving forward very, very quickly. So here, for example, a little bit of weird camera angles going on, but if I just press the up arrow, you can see that I'm just jumping through the playhead or go back. I can quickly work through the clips by just using the up and down arrow, which is pretty smart. So let's say, for example, that this particular clip that I like the look of, and I think actually, you know, some of this is quite a nice picture. I can now deliver that. I now would like to deliver that as a photo to my client. Then simply all I need to do is press the C key, and now that clip will then be saved as an image in the folder where the video is. So you can kind of just pull that out and use that as you need to. So just a really quick way of getting those particular pictures. So that's pretty well much how that bit works. And like I said, we can look at the rejected here if we wanted to. So here are the rejects, and of course I can just go back into these here, and I can kind of move through, and I can press the X to kind of bring those back into my collection. And then of course I'm then back here. I can either clear the filter here, or I can reset it just up here and get back to kind of where I was. Now, before I mention about the kind of mark for edit, that's again, you can see here that on this particular clip here, you can see that there was that funny kind of moment where kind of the camera kind of zooms in and zooms back out again. That could be a clip where actually that I'd like to deliver that to my clients. I can just press the E there to mark for edit. That will move on to the next clip, but you can see here I've got like a little pen symbol there. And of course I can bring up the inspector. I can then say reveal in Finder. I can then go in, pick up that particular video clip, and I can then make that change. So that's just a quick way of marking clips for edit. So that is as simple as it comes. Now I'm just going to move the inspector away there. So as we've seen, we can press the T key here to kind of, as I said, to kind of move the thumbnail view. I can turn this into a full screen view if I wanted to. I can move the filter. But what about kind of sorting itself? And if I just press the S, then I've got the kind of the sorting. And at the moment, I've got everything that's currently in a custom order right now. But if I can also sort by name, date created, rating, and of course I can adjust any of these itself, and I can do ascending and descending order if I wanted to. Now, the custom order is quite handy. So if, for example, that you've kind of filtered everything down, you got to where you need it to be, but now I want to customize the order. Let's say, for example, I want this particular clip here to kind of move its way up the timeline. Let's move into that particular particular order there, for example, I could just change the order of the clips. That means that when I then go to export this current filter that you see on the screen, all of those clips will then be exported in that particular order. So that is as easy as it comes on the actual timeline itself. What about the exporting itself? Now, the way that Video Selector Pro works is that whatever you have filtered, whatever you have on your display. So let's say, for example, that if I just bring this up and I say, well, I just want to have a look at all of my, so let's say, for example, greater than, say, 4. So let's just say these are the clips that I want to deliver to my client. Then with that filter in view, all I simply need to do is go up to this little option up here, and then this brings up the current filter for export dialog. And you can see here that I'm saying everything is greater is 3, and greater is going to be a 3. So it's 3 clips in total that I'm going to be exporting. Now, my destination folder, I just need to choose a folder on my machine, and of course I can then, it will then simply just then copy all of those clips to that particular folder. But one thing that you might want to do in flight is rename all the clips when they're exporting. So it could be that you've got some crazy kind of clip names or something like that, like, you know, image_3672.mov or something like that. Well, this is just a very, very convenient way where you can just rename the clips ready for client delivery or for storage or anything like that. Now, you can either keep it with the original file name, or you can do the sequential sort of update here. So you give it a kind of a name here. You can choose the different separators. You can have underscores or dashes. And then you can give it a start number, and you can also then change this to maybe then for a slightly longer numerical kind of name. And here, this is the preview that we got here. So I can simply just now export that out, and all of those clips would then be exported out. Really, really straightforward. So that is it, and that will then move to a destination folder, and then you're then ready to do whatever you want to do with that folder of content. But remember, we're not destructively removing anything or deleting anything. We're simply just copying all of the clips to a different folder. So one really big and one really great use case for Video Selector Pro is a culling tool. If you are a videographer or a content creator and you're dealing with lots and lots of clips, one real use case of this particular application is to make it really, really easy to narrow down to the clips you only really want to take into your video editing tool. It could be that you capture hundreds of clips, but actually maybe only 50 of them need to make it into the final edit. And it might be that your current video tool makes it a little bit more difficult for you to kind of do all of this kind of culling. So this could be used as a pre-step to moving content into your more official timeline, into your video editing tool. So that's one possible use case for Video Selector Pro, as well as many others that no doubt is there. So that is pretty well much it. I'm hoping that that gave you an insight into Video Selector Pro. I'm always looking to improve the tool, so if you've got any ideas or any features that you would like to see supported, please do reach out to me. More than happy to take into consideration the way that you perhaps use a tool, or the way that you would like me to customize it further to give you, you know, a very, very powerful tool for you to kind of cull all of your video content. So that's it. I really do appreciate if you are using Video Selector Pro, please do give us a 5-star rating on the App Store. Really do appreciate that. And I'll keep you updated with new versions in the App Store when they become available, as this tool gets improved as we go forward. So thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.